There's one crucial thing about real estate that Meet Kevin is not telling you about. I'm here to expose it. You may know Meet Kevin as the stimulus check guy, or you may know him as the individual who's able to put out 3, 4, or even 5 different videos on his YouTube channel every single day. But what you may or may not know about Meet Kevin is that he's absolutely one of the best real estate YouTubers out there right now, and he provides an insane amount of value on his channel for free, as well as in his private courses. With the exception of the past few months, the majority of his videos on his channel are about how to buy, sell, invest in real estate, and even rehab properties. He's got a ton of videos showing you exactly what to buy, what not to buy, what deals to look for, how to invest that money, and how to properly manage your rental properties. He consistently talks about buying what he calls wedge deals, which is where you buy real estate for below market value. You go in and you fix it up and you make it nicer than it was, and hopefully you get added appreciation because of that. For example, something like this would look like buying a home for $400,000, putting $30,000 into it, and now it's worth, let's say, $475,000. However, there's one thing that Kevin basically never talks about when it comes to real estate, and I'm here to shed some light on it, because if you don't know it, you could end up in a bad spot. Kevin doesn't talk much about cash flow when it comes to real estate, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe it's for a few different reasons which I want to outline here. Number one, he's in California. California is an extremely expensive state. Properties in his area are going from anywhere from $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 or more, and it's just really hard to make the numbers work on a deal like that without putting 30, 40, or 50% down. If you're looking for cash flow, you almost always have to put more money down if you're in a market like this. Number two, he's got a very high net worth and he's got a massive income. So when something goes wrong with the property, maybe he's got a repair or he's got a vacancy or maybe even an eviction, it doesn't really hurt him as much to take care of that item. It's going to cost him and it's going to hurt him, but he can weather that storm a little bit more than maybe your average Joe would be able to. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't make a huge difference or that he can just make sloppy decisions, because I know that he doesn't. He takes this very seriously, and I know that he's an expert when it comes to managing your property effectively, and that includes on the rehab side as well as on the management side. But when you've got a bigger net worth and a very high income, it makes it much easier to get through these tough times and just take care of some of those expenses if they do happen to come up. And number three, Kevin believes that you should worry about building your net worth first and then worry about the cash flow later. However, I'm not sure I wholeheartedly agree with this. Here's why. I want you to think about why you're actually going through this process of investing in real estate in the first place. There's a really good chance it's because you want to earn money and you want to become wealthy. Okay, fair enough. Well, why do you want to become wealthy? It's probably because you want the freedom that the money actually provides. You need money, and there's a good chance you're probably working every single day to earn that money right now. But if you had cash flow coming in, there's a chance that you could potentially give up your job forever, regardless of what your net worth is. And I'm not saying that investing for net worth is not going to get you to that stage. I'm just saying that if you invest for cash flow right up front, you're going to be able to get to that later stage in life much quicker. You're going to be able to get that monthly freedom from the cash flow coming in if that's what you actually go for when you make these investments. Building net worth is important, but for me and my freedom, the cash flow that I get coming in every single month is way more important than the net worth that I'm able to build through wedge deals. For instance, I just closed on a duplex a couple weeks ago where I actually paid over the market value because the numbers still made sense for me. This duplex is going to pay me over $1,000 a month in cash flow, and to be honest, with the exception of the money that I put into it for my down payment, I really don't see this property giving me any type of equity back in the form of appreciation for at least the next 2 to 4 years. So Meet Kevin might be looking at me or my real estate deal and might be saying, that guy's a noob, don't do that. But the reality is this deal still works and it produces cash flow, which is way more important to me than having money tied up in a deal in the form of appreciation or equity that I can't really touch very easily. And this, in my opinion, provides a much safer overall investment. It's kind of like Warren Buffett's rules of investing, right? Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1. Right? You want to be protected from the downside risk in your investment, and having monthly cash flow to cover anything that may come up is what allows you to do that. Now, because of Kevin's immense experience, I think that he very rarely runs into problems that he didn't foresee coming. If he's buying a property and he's going through the rehab process, he's probably already looking at all of these things such as the roof or the furnace, or maybe it's the AC or the yard, or any of these major items that may come up as needing an immediate repair. He's probably already accounting for that in his upfront rehab. and the fact that he's got extensive experience on the property management side, I believe he very rarely runs into tenant problems where he has to go through an eviction or even has an extended vacancy. I'm sure he's very thorough with the credit and background checks that he runs and makes sure that he puts the right tenant into the home who hopefully is going to treat it well and stay for the long term. You know, for most of us, there is a risk that you run into a vacancy one month. Perhaps somebody gets late moving out and then you don't have somebody to move in, and sometimes that just happens. Or maybe they move out and you realize, oh, I got to replace the carpet and it's going to take 2 weeks to do that, so you can't get somebody in there until the following month. Sometimes those missed months of rent just happen. You know, as you get more experience, you're going to learn how to deal with these items, and it's going to happen less and less. But if you're just getting started out, there's a good chance it could happen. Now, you can mitigate your risk through good property management or by learning from the mistakes of others, you know, learning through real estate videos here on YouTube about what to do so that you don't run into these problems. But the reality is sometimes you just have to cut your teeth. Sometimes you're gonna run into these problems no matter how prepared you think you are. So having the property pay for these expenses on its own instead of having it come out of your pocket can make a world of difference. The next thing I've got to mention is that cash flow is bomb because it's money that you have access to right now. It's like that old annuity commercial. It's my money and I want it now.
It's my money and I need it now.
The cool thing about cash flow is that it can act as an immediate safety net and you can use it. You know, maybe you've got a month where you've got some medical bills that came up and you need to take care of that. You can use that cash flow if you need to. If you just have equity in a property, it's really hard to get access to that, which sometimes can help you, but in most cases, it's actually going to work against you. I would much rather have that cash flow coming in every month and have it in my bank account ready to spend if needed. Or you can also continue to save up that cash flow. That's what I would recommend doing. You want to save up this cash flow, put a little aside for reserves, and keep saving that money so that you can get to making your next investment that much quicker. Because if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, man, it takes forever to save up to get to your next property. I've done this a couple times over the last few years, and I know that it takes forever, and you get that bug, you know, you get that bug where you're like, I gotta buy something, I wanna buy something, and it just takes forever to get the money to be able to do so. Having cash flow can help you get there a little bit quicker. Everything else that Meet Kevin talks about with real estate is spot on. Whether it's buying wedge deals, or it's managing your property effectively, or even just saving money on rehab. Like I said, the information that he gives out here on YouTube is absolutely insane. You can get 10 years worth of experience from just watching a couple hours of his videos. However, I don't want you to forget about the cash flow that you should have when buying real estate investments. It's such a crucial part of the strategy. I still do believe in a lot of things that he teaches when it comes to buying wedge deals. In fact, I've done 4 of these myself, and I've outlined those extensively here on the channel. I agree with him on saving money on rehabs. I've made that mistake myself of getting way in over my head, spending way too much money on a rehab that we didn't need to do, and realizing after the fact, man, I could have saved a lot of money. I could have cut the time in half that it took to do this job, and I would have gotten the same exact amount of rent every single month. And managing the properties as effectively as possible is just as crucial as the rest of it. You have to be able to do this to try and mitigate your risk when it comes to vacancy or even evictions or just problem tenants. In my opinion, for the knowledge he has and the content that he puts out here on YouTube for free, he's one of the best real estate YouTubers out there on the platform right now, and you've got to listen to him. Just don't forget about the cash flow that you need to have in your real estate deals. Okay guys, so 3 takeaways that I want you to get from this video. Number 1, listen to Meet Kevin. Buy those wedge deals, manage your property effectively, and save money on rehabs. You don't want to overspend when you're doing a rehab. If you are going to pay market value, you've got to make sure that the numbers work for you right up front. Number 2, determine your own investment strategy. If you've got a bigger down payment or if you've got a higher income, you can potentially take bigger risks where you don't have as much cash flow in the property, because if one of those things does come up, you have a better chance of just being able to pay for it and have it not make as much of a difference. This is how you can take the risk to invest in higher end properties and get that long-term appreciation and equity without having as much cash flow. Number 3, cash is king. You need to have cash flow in your real estate investments because when something goes wrong, and it will, you want to be able to have that property pay for it rather than having it come out of your own pocket if at all possible. You don't want to get caught paying for these items with the income that comes from your job. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing it with a friend. Maybe even share it with Meet Kevin if you know him. With that said, I'll catch you in the next one.